Ladies and gentlemen of the rock and roll, punk, prog, hardcore, thrash, and heavy metal community, my name is Jason Evans, and this is the Great Metal Standoff, the podcast that pits music's greatest albums in track-by-track combat. And on this episode, we welcome you to the final battle of our grunge month. Throughout August, we have spent hour after hour with the team from Mosh Pit on Sin and other guests in celebrating a time in rock and roll where grunge ruled the world. We put together our first ever three-way battle on this show, that being Dirt versus 10 versus Nevermind. We celebrated Chris Cornell with White Bonsai talking Super Unknown versus Audioslave. We put Facelift one-on-one against Bad Motorfinger. And we asked, how did us Aussies give the sound a crack when Silverchair went one-on-one with Pearl Jam's Versus? If any of these battles tickle your fancy, do go and give them a listen. They were a real fun conversation to have with so many great people. But now, here we are, at the end, with what probably is the two last hurrahs of the era. Alice in Chains' 1995 self-titled, and Nirvana's final album In Utero from 1993. My fellow Mosh Pit on Sin teammate Imran, our resident grunge fanatic, has been tasked with joining me in picking a winner between the two. But as usual, we are in need of a third person, so we reached out outside of our niche punk and metal world, and we began exploring for grunge fans in our local folk, country, indie, and any other acoustic scene that we could find. In doing so, we may have stumbled upon Mosh Pit's newest best friend. Today, we will be meeting a folk, country singer-songwriter by the name of Cypress Oliphant, who, originally from the United States, we learned has a fairly eclectic fandom of many kinds of music. Born on country and linguistically curious, but most importantly for today, raised on grunge. For me, going into this battle, I was somewhat skeptical about how this would go. Both of these albums underwhelmed me on first listen. Some reasons I will discuss in just a little bit, but it should not be ignored that there are very good songs to sing the praise of off both albums. And you do become more appreciative of them by the time of, let's say, listen number 5, for example. So allow me to inform you of how this battle will work, and we'll get right to it. Number 1. Every album battle will be contested in track-by-track format by our podcast panel. Number 2. Each individual panelist will select a winner of each pairing. The winning track receives a point to that individual's tally score. Tracks on albums that go uncontested can receive a tally point if a panelist awards it a gold star. Good news, we don't need to use that rule today. 12 tracks each. Once the battle is over, the album with the highest tally score will receive 1 grand point for that album. If a panelist's tally score results in a draw, both albums will receive a half grand point each. And finally, the album with the most grand points will be declared the winner. And now, it is time for your main event of Grunge Month, Alice in Chains' self-titled versus Nirvana's In Utero. Place your predictions now. Roll the audio. The final battle of Grunge Month is upon us. Alice in Chains' self-titled versus the final Nirvana album In Utero. Imran, I think you've done the most out of this. How are you feeling that now we're at the end?
I'm quite terrified, honestly, of these two albums because you've pitted my favorite Nirvana album against my favorite Alice in Chains album. And
have I actually?
Yeah, I'm terrified. I think all of the other grunge things that I've done with you, I have not compared to these two yet. So this one's going to be a very interesting one.
Okay. Well, there's only two of us. We need a third one. So we've reached out into the Australian public. In fact, we've not even gone into the metal scene, Imran. We've actually just gone into a completely different style, and we found a new best friend on the show. He's our new best friend of the Mosh Pit on Sin, Great Metal Standoff universe. His name is Cypress Oliphant. He does a lot of folk, country music, and he's here to talk about grunge because he's born and raised on it from the homeland of the United States. Cypress, welcome. How you doing?
Hello, how are you?
In good health?
Yes. Excellence. Yes. Staying in good nick, trying to stay inside as much as possible and, keep myself busy and productive.
Yes, we are recording as at the time of recording, end of August. We're still in the midst of a coronavirus pandemic where we have to stay indoors. We're at stage 4 lockdown at this present time. So you've been keeping busy, I hear.
Yes, listening to and making lots of music.
Now you're very much more of the folk style, more of the country style, very laid back. But yet you're here on a grunge podcast. Where's the hybrid come in?
Okay, so essentially I'm from the South and I was raised with Nirvana, right? So when I was 6 years old, I got a Nevermind on DVD or CD, sorry, for my birthday, which happened to be right after Christmas. So my birthday and Christmas present was the CD. And I got so excited. I was like, "Oh, I can't wait to go see them live." And my mom was like, And
How long ago was this? Mid-2000s, right?
yeah, this would have been like 2004, 2005.
Right.
Oh, that would have hurt.
Yeah, I had some tears.
Oh, I could imagine. They definitely got some amazing live stuff, Nirvana, especially live at Reading. That's something I wish I could have seen live.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the MTV is obviously their most well-known live performance. Reading is probably in the top 3. And then what's the other one? Muddy Banks?
From the Muddy Banks of Wishika, I think it is.
Yeah.
That's a good one as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that I heard like before like everything else. Like when YouTube was just starting out, like that's what you could find,
I've got some good live stuff. I got a question for you, Cypress.
Yeah.
What made you decide to make folkier country music instead of going with your grunge roots?
Yeah, well, I actually think it's kind of interesting that so when you think of Kurt Cobain's vocal style and his writing style, he has a lot of country undertones. So when you look at grunge, what makes it kind of stand out is that, especially Kurt Cobain's grunge, is that it has this kind of country Western undertone to it in some of the imagery and like his vocal patterns. So I thought it would be interesting to flip it and put grunge undertones into folk songs.
Ah, that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, so like, like the idea is that like grunge embodies like a lot of angst and like anger, and country music is like kind of letting go of that, or, following like a ballad or something like that. And I like the idea of having these lines. If I could quote something of mine, is and if I die, then who am I kidding? I'll be buried within the living. It's kind of dark, but at the same time, it's beautiful because it's kind of like renewal at the same time of death, So like, I like those like undertones and those themes that you find in grunge and putting those back into country, where I think a lot of grunge kind of stems from.
Yeah, it's definitely very prevalent in grunge music, especially with Alice in Chains as well, because I believe Jerry Cantrell's very inspired by a lot of that country stuff as well, especially on this album, which I guess we'll talk about.
Yeah, so Cypress, when we got in contact and thought about, you'd be good to talk about a grunge album here. How did you react when I made the pitch to you, Alice in Chains self-titled versus In Utero? What first went through your head when we pitched it?
How can I not be biased? So I think the first thing coming into this is that, yes, I do like a lot of Alice in Chains, and their MTV special Unplugged is arguably just as good, if not better than Nirvana's. It's definitely extremely underrated, I believe. But this album is really interesting because a lot of these songs are featured on that live performance, and it was kind of new to me because I'd never heard the whole album. So listening to the album for the first time, I was, just trying to take everything in and trying to gauge the perspective of it.
So Imran, you said it was your favorite of each. Have you been conflicted for the last few weeks?
I have. Well, initially, I was leaning towards one side, but now that I've properly listened, because I haven't listened to these two albums in a while, so my initial thought was I won't spoil anything. I was leaning towards one album at first, but now that I've listened to both of them, written some notes, I could not tell you which one I prefer, which one will win tonight. So guess we're going to find out together.
And Cypress is going to be trying very hard to maintain as impartial as he can, I hear, as well.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I take into consideration the same factors. In every song,
well then,
track by track.
2 final questions then. One is a piece of admin. You do have material available right now. I think it's on SoundCloud, isn't it, called Fire? If you want to talk about Fire, we'll get to know what you sound like.
Yeah, sure. So this one is definitely Bob Dylan inspired. So a big song for me was Wagon Wheel growing up, and it has a lot of references to North Carolina, where I was born, and Tennessee, where I grew up, and goes all the way up to New England and back. And I kind of like the Bob Dylan-esque like imagery and landscapes he makes when he writes, you know? So I start the song off with some really interesting imagery, and like it starts with the chorus, right? So it's talking about being a fire and comparing that to my dog just came inside. Sorry.
All these
was.
invasions on Grunge Month.
Yeah, and I'm already flustered, so I have to regain my composure. As I was saying,
the dog's
yes.
invading. It's not the three-legged dog on the Alice in Chains album, clearly.
True.
More than one dog on this podcast.
Talk about tie-ins, eh?
Yeah, so the idea, right? So the song, I guess the backstory is that I came to Australia in 2016, and for the first 3 months I was just working and on holiday, and then essentially what happened was I went up to Kings Lake and I saw kind of like the aftermath of the Black Saturday, and I got this kind of like this feeling like, wow, like this country really burns, you know? And like when I went back to high school, I just kind of like put two and two together. I'm like, yeah, this country is gonna start like having fires and stuff. And so I really liked the imagery in fires, right? So like on one instance you have charcoal, which is actually really full of nutrients. And on the other hand, you have clay, which needs that nutrients, right? So in a way, this fire, this renewal is actually feeding back into the earth. And while it's kind of terrible for animals, for the plants, they're actually kind of used to it and they need it, you know? So I kind of use that imagery as like a catalyst for love and how we treat other people, if that makes sense.
Mm.
But well,
that's really interesting.
Very well thought out for a very simple, laid-back folk song. That will make the listener think. So yeah, that's available out on SoundCloud right now. And finally, and then we'll be heading into the battle. I've been asking this just to every outside guest we've had on Grunge Month. Why do we call it grunge? We've had a three-way between Dirt 10 and Nevermind. We've had, which in fairness, you could probably make the argument of metal band versus rock band versus punk band. We've had Soundgarden, which could be borderline a metal band. Why do we call this grunge? Why do we call this period grunge? Why aren't we not at this moment comparing a metal album with a punk album?
Right. So I guess grunge for me, it's obviously has to be taken regionally and also the era into consideration, right? So Seattle, for instance, is a big hub for grunge, and I think that influence is basically a mix between punk, the depth of hair metal, which would be like the evolution, if you will, and finally a hinge of country and acoustics, you know? So grunge is this very unique art like style in that I find that it's more like homely, I guess, but at the same time it's like you listen to the lyrics and they're not so homely, and they can have times of just thrashing out. So I think grunge is kind of like a curveball when you think of like when you compare the other ones, because you kind of know what to expect, but when you say, oh, this is a grunge song, it actually has a lot more variety, you know, especially like when comparing these two artists and the songs throughout the albums.
And Imran, I think it's time for us to dive deep into that, isn't it, Imran? Because I think no better explanation than that. Let's get to it, hey?
I hear. Yeah, let's do it.
That means you have to have another encounter with the timekeeper, Imran. How do you feel?
Shaking my fist at him very vigorously.
Well, I'm appreciating the laid-back nature of Cypress. He's looking at that timekeeper dead in the eye and saying, I'm not afraid of you. Bring it on. Let's do this. So timekeeper...
He doesn't know what he's in for.
By the way, Cypress, are you ready for Imran's hot takes?
Yes.
I don't think you are, buddy.
That's going to be...
so excited.
Maybe this is the story of the night. What kind of hot takes has Cypress got that Imran's just he's gonna grimace over? We'll find out once the timekeeper, if you may, ring the bell. Thanks, timekeeper. In accordance with me, I would probably just want to say I think it might take my decision at the end of this podcast might be based on being convinced by either Imran or Cypress, one way or the other. But either or, let's get straight to it. Track number 1, Grind versus Serve the Servants.
Killer
Interesting
opening
stuff.
tracks, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I Serve the Servants is an interesting one because that's like you get from the comparison of Nevermind. That started off as like their hit song. Everyone knew it. It sucked you right in. This one's got a bit of an odd intro because Serve the Servants isn't really a song that stands out in Nirvana's catalog. But it's cool because it really sets the tone of the album from the get-go. Their like new experimental, like punk, like back to their roots punky sound. It's got like it's really interesting riffs, killer vocals and stuff. I like how it's still got the same Nirvana vibe, but it's different. Like you can tell right from the get-go that this album's going to be different. And honestly, it's same with Grind, I think, compared to the last two Alice in Chains albums. I mean, it's still the same gritty, like chugging, like headbanging riffs, like crazy sounds and stuff. But I think from the get-go with Grind, you can tell Jerry kind of lets loose on this. Jerry Cantrell, the guitarist. And yeah, he starts off with singing, which is a new turn as well, because Jerry doesn't really sing much on the other albums. So yeah, these two are just two very interesting tracks that really set the tone for what's to come for both of these albums respectively. And yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Cypress?
Yeah, so I think that Serve the Servants is in Nirvana's case, like a very strong representative to be the first track. I think a lot of people judge an album based off the first track, you know, and the first couple seconds of the track. And it kind of starts off slow and then it picks up, and I really like the progression of it. And it's actually, compared to a lot of the other songs in this album, much more palatable to like the outside perspective. So if you've never heard Nirvana before, you can kind of get that same feeling that you might get listening to Sweet Teen Spirit for the first time. I really like the chorus. Serving the servants is just like so interesting to me. Like it's kind of like, you know, like noting that people kind of look over some people, and like it's like talking about like kind of giving it back, you know, like a little social commentary there. And with Grind, I found that it represents Alice in Chains really well, because it doesn't really try to like differentiate or like slow down for like new listeners. It's like it's either you're going head first and you gotta be prepared for that or not. I really like this song on Alice in Chains album Grind because of the melodies and the fillers they put in, especially towards the end with the guitar. I just found that it doesn't have like, as you know, like I'm a lyrically inclined person, and I really like the chorus and the verses, but it's almost too repetitive, and I would like to hear more like instrumental in that song, you know.
With Grind, well, it's Alice in Chains, sorry, in particular, they do a lot of that where it's like it's kind of got that poppy vibe where their songs are catchy, but they're just super dark and heavy.
Yeah,
it's still got that like catchy element to it though. And
it's almost like anti-pop, hey.
Almost, yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm inclined to pick Grind for this one because it's such a wicked opener. It's like killer riffs. I love Lane's vocals in the chorus in this, where not the chorus, sorry, the verse, where because you've got Jerry with his nice clean vocals, and then contrasting Lane has got like some distortion on his voice, and he sounds real raspy and dirty and just.
He's using a vocoder, right?
I believe so. He like there's definitely an effect on his voice, like with some distortion or something. But yeah, this song is just it's a thumper in your words, Jason.
Yeah. Or chugger.
Yeah, chuggy. It's a classic Alice in Chains song. Great way to start an album. You know, like all respect to Serve the Servants. That's a great song. But I think I'm going to pick Grind for this one.
Yeah, I remember liking Serve the Servants the first time. Then I started listening to it on this album, and I started, why did I like it the first time? Now I've been flip-flopping, you know? Might need some convincing. Cypress, what are you going to be taking?
Yeah, so I think this opening track is very well produced. It's clean. There's not much feedback from the guitar as you hear in some of the later songs. I I think like in terms of picking a song to be the first one, I think it's pretty decent. I really like the line, I tried hard to have a father, but instead I had a dad. I think that line's always kind of stuck with me, and I think I'm probably just going to lean with Serve the Servants on this one.
Okay, so the first point for Cypress is going to In Utero, 1-0, of course. I'm very stuck, and I think I might need to be pulling out the asterisks, I'm very stuck, Imran.
All right, I'll give you a convincing point. The solo
Okay.
in Grind is wicked.
It is good. It is good.
That I think is one of the best uses of the tremolo arm since Jimi Hendrix. It's a hot take, but it's a good use of the tremolo arm. He's got some sick techniques in
that. This opinion may change, but I do like the chugger of Grind. I like Serve the Servants, but this can change. But my first point's going to go to Grind. Let's see what happens.
That's right.
Oh,
It's only
dear
the first
God.
one.
What's
It
that,
only gets
Imran?
worse from here.
It
It
gets
only gets
worse?
worse from here, buddy. Yep.
Brush Away versus Scentless Apprentice. Sorry. Brush Away versus Scentless Apprentice. Just get the fun fact right out of the way. Scentless Apprentice. See, what a tongue twister. That was it's one of the very rare songs that is credited entirely to Nirvana. All three of them had a hand at writing that one.
Yeah. I had that written down as well. Yeah, that one's also based off a book by I forgot his name, but it's a book about a
Perfume.
It's called
Das Perfume.
Perfume. Yeah, Perfume, the story of a murderer or something. And
Spoilers.
yeah, it's about a kid who was basically born with no body odor, and he's got a super smell sense. And I'm not going to go into the rest of it because it's dark, but it's cool. But yeah, Scentless Apprentice is honestly one of my favorite tracks off of In Utero, because that groove at the start on the drums just is freaking wicked. You got the crazy guitars happening at the start, sick riff. It's like in the verse, it's like almost like a call and response from the guitar riff and the vocals, and then that chorus is just like crazy nuts screaming, like it's like organized noise. It's insane. Even the guitar solo is just nonsense, and the whole song's pretty much just held together by drum and bass. But it's for a crazy punk song that's just noise. That's a solid song. I think my point's going to go to that one.
Imran, to your point, I think half of In Utero is held together by drum and bass, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, that's a fair take.
Yeah.
But with I mean, it pays off with this song. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one because the drums are very prominent in it. And a little interesting tidbit about this album is that it was basically recorded off in the mountains in, I believe, Washington. And
I think it was Minnesota, I think, from what I read.
Okay. Yeah, so somewhere in the middle of nowhere, essentially. And they got snowed in for half of it. So they were kind of upset whenever they got, they were doing it for like about 2 weeks, which is pretty quick. I don't know, kind of slow in some aspects, but compared to how much they actually did in the limited amount of time they did, pretty interesting. But an interesting tidbit is that when Dave Grohl was doing the drums, they found it was too loud for some of the songs, and so they would put him in the kitchen, and they'd set up 30 microphones around his drum kit. And yeah, so some of these tracks, you'll hear the drums come in, and it's just like, whoa. And it's Steve Albini putting 30 microphones around Dave Grohl. So Scentless Apprentice is a good example of that one because it's really raw, and it is very punky. I admit, I agree on that one too.
Raw, punky, and garagey, but I'm not a fan of that screaming.
Yeah, well, there's one. It definitely grows on you. He's saying "get away." Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, if you read the lyrics, like, you're kind of be repulsed by it, but like. It's one of those things where like he kind of wrote these horror tracks, sometimes, and that's kind of like if you compare it to his physical art, like with the babies and with the In Utero album cover, like it like kind of makes sense that he would sing songs like this. So I guess I would put my point into Scentless Apprentice in this one as well.
We haven't even talked about Brush Away yet, so Imran, just give us a little bit of a rundown on that song.
Oh, I mean, Brush Away is in its own right, a great song. It's got that classic grunge intro of like the super heavy chorus effect on it. There's a massive sound to that song. There's like big guitars in it. There's some sick bass in that verse. I particularly like the chorus in this song because it's very rhythmic. Because it's like they try to get away, like very rhythmic in terms of how they sing it, and I think it's really catchy. Plus the guitar solo in it as well is also great. I think this album is very much Jerry's standout album. I think this is like honestly like his peak of his guitar playing is on this album. Like which I'll get into more later, but he's got some fantastic stuff. Like he explores some like crazy experimental type stuff on this, and I love his guitar playing on this. I think it's one of the main reasons why it's my favorite Alice in Chains album.
Be sure to let us know about that as we go along.
That's interesting that you are attached to the chorus, because I'm more drawn to the verse, especially particularly and when he's talking about when he's like, my aggression, my intention, like that really like stuck with me. Like the intention that he actually has in his voice when he says those words is really really cool. And like I thought that was like really nice, and like the vocalization in this song is nice, but like I think I don't know, it can go both ways in some instances. Like I personally like it in the verse more than in the chorus.
I mean, the verse is great. It's another classic case of Alice in Chains' use of harmony. With it's kind of like a power chord almost that they do with the voice, and which is like in musical terms, it's got the main melody line, and you've got a perfect fifth above it or below it, which would be a fourth. But yeah, not to get too much into that. It's very much like stable, like it's called a perfect fifth. So it's like it makes sense the whole time, and it works. It gives it that really thick, like almost angelic kind of sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Imran and I still need to pick on a winner on this one. Cypress has gone 2-0.
I'm picking Scentless Apprentice.
Scentless Apprentice? I think,
Yeah.
do you know what? I
think
all three of us are in agreement, but I think I'm picking Scentless Apprentice for a different reason, just because Brushaway felt a bit stagnant and just a bit too mellow for my liking. I'm not sure. That can easily change once we're done. Not as in mellow, as in like melancholy, but just stagnant. Doesn't move along all that much, where Scentless Apprentice has a bit more going on. Personal opinion, that could easily change within the next hour or so, but I'll take Scentless Apprentice. So that's tied it up for myself and Imran. Yippee-ki-yay. Next up, Sludge Factory versus Heart-Shaped Box. I just want to say before we get into analysis, if Sludge Factory went up against Scentless Apprentice, I would have picked it, but it doesn't. It goes up against probably the best song off in Utero.
This is quite possibly one of the hardest picks. Like this is one that I have been thinking about for the past maybe 3 or 4 days, and I still can't seem to come to a decision. Because on one hand, you've got Heart-Shaped Box, which is one of the most iconic Nirvana songs, and
easily
quite possibly one of the greatest Nirvana songs of all time. Like arguable, but there's no way it's not in your top 3.
Cypress, is that a hot take?
It's top 10. It's got a great, so like don't get me wrong, this is a great song, but I have listened to their box set like 20 times, and there's so many unreleased tracks that like Kurt Cobain was scared to put out there that I think he should have. And this one was it's interesting because like he's kind of making this dig at like his falling relationship, and it is quite personal, you know. It's also an extremely influential song. I think that so personally, Heart-Shaped Box is about his relationship with Courtney Love. She's actually gone on interviews and like boasted about how this song was about her, and she's been very vulgar about it, and not necessarily like using it like it's like, I don't know, it's one of those things where like it sparked a lot of controversy. And especially in the music world, you'll see that a lot of people in the 90s would start writing diss tracks about Courtney Love because of this song and because of the way that she, just came about having it. Yeah, so it is really heavy when you look at this track. And I mean, vocally, like lyrically it's great. It's got a decent chorus, guitar solo.
Yep.
But personally,
Hold on.
Yep.
Decent chorus.
Okay. So hey, wait, I
Decent.
got a new complaint. Forever in debt to your priceless advice. Yeah. It's like it's good. It's like if grunge was put in a fortune cookie. You know?
Fortune cookie. Wow.
Yeah, like if you open up a fortune cookie and like you wanted a chorus, like this one would be one of them. But like the verse is so much better. Like she eyes me like a Pisces when I'm weak. Like me eating orchids. Like I think the verse definitely is where like Kurt stands out in a lot of his tracks. And like occasionally he'll use his chorus as like to express a political view or something like that. And in this case, it's just like expressing his angst, which is great. Now I really like the melody of Sludge Factory. I love the music. And I think the thing that stands out about this track, Sludge Factory and Heart Shaped Box, is actually the outro of Alice in Chains. So you hear all the fillers, you hear the guitar progressions, and then it comes in with this very like powerful message that is like overlooked. Right? So like,
Are we talking your weapon is guilt?
Yeah,
your weapon is
that
guilt. So more importantly, the lines that come before it, in the wrecking of the keeping the desired effect, the breaking of the spirit thwarts the whole being.
You understood all that?
Yeah, so like the weapon is guilt. If you go up to like halfway, right? So he starts off by saying, where the vultures, liars, thieves, each proclaim their innocence. No one suggestions or rhythm. So essentially, your weapon is contained, right? So like vultures, liars, and thieves each proclaim their innocence. So the ones that are like suppressing the people are basically using the guilt of other people to keep them suppressed. It's almost like Stockholm syndrome, right?
I mean, this song is about like their kind of protest against the music industry almost, because
Sure.
they wrote this song in particular when they got a message from their record company saying they only had 9 days, like either left or they only had 9 days to record this album, and
Yeah.
like obviously they didn't do that because that's ridiculous.
It's interesting. It's
So
kind of like
yeah, they wrote this in kind of protest of that, which is like
Yeah.
kind of the factory where it's like that factory is meant to represent the kind of churning out of songs or whatever.
I think now is a good point to mention the production of In Utero is similar to that. So like Sub Pop kind of got bought out and like they were gone to the next label, I guess, and they were being very pushy and demanding. And Kurt wanted Steve Albini to do the album, and he wanted to do it in 2 weeks. And basically, if you look into this album, a lot of it is unpalatable to most of the people that would have liked Nevermind. And I think that's where this album is like kind of like its own piece. The whole album combined is like it's kind of like Kurt's realist album. It's like what he really wanted to put out. Like, you know, like it's not perfect. It's not supposed to be appeasing to the eye. It's supposed to have some raunchy elements and be controversial. But to bring it back, I think I'm going to give it to Sludge Factory on this one.
Really?
You know what?
Damn.
I still haven't made a decision between these two.
Okay.
Because look, I feel like Cypress, you really downplayed Heart Shaped Box because
Oh, without a doubt. Well, like, I mean, I grew up playing it on Guitar Hero, you know, so I love the song.
Yeah,
but I'm trying to give Allison credit and Chains the credit it deserves where it deserves it.
Oh, yeah, I understand that because Sludge Factory is that riff is one of my favorite Alice in Chains riffs of all time, and the like you said, the melody of that song's amazing. The bridge I think is the highlight is when it goes to that like weird bendy vocal like once again you see like that part is like wow, like mwah, like that is amazing. There's some like sick like lead guitar stuff in that. I find the solo is really interesting because it's real sloppy and like kind of like dry, and you can tell he's kind of messing that up on purpose. But I feel like that also adds to the song. And yeah, like you said, the ending part's sick, where it's just like all the weird mumbly, like a lot of spoken word dialogue, and then your weapon is guilt, and then goes on for a while after that. It's got like this weird time change at the end, and Yeah, it's a cool song, but going up against Heart Shaped Box, like
It is tough stuff.
this is a 10 out of 10 Nirvana song.
Yeah.
I'm with you on
Jason,
that
do you
one,
have
Imran.
It's
Jason, you
also a
picked yet,
very
or?
misunderstood Nirvana
I haven't
song.
picked yet, but I'll take Heart Shaped Box. But let's just once again, we'll give Sludge Factory a bit of its credit, especially on my end. It'd probably easily be top 5 favorite off this album specifically. But just to your points of when you've been talking about the bridge, you're talking about the solos, talking about the spoken word. I was just thinking from a general overall vibe kind of thing. Kind of just screamed like it's a canary in a coal mine. This entire vibe of that song.
Yeah, I could see that.
And there you have it. So Cypress Sludge Factory is the point for you.
That's it. It was kind of a tough decision because, you know, there's such a cultural significance on Heart Shaped Box, and it's probably the most recognizable song. But at the same time, I found that, like, the Alice in Chains one was almost like a ballad, you know?
Oh, wow.
And I really liked what they did with the ending with their samples, or like just their like whatever they plug in at the end, their outro.
Righto. Imran, decision time.
Can you give me like 10 minutes?
I can't do that. I'm sorry, Imran. I'm afraid I cannot do that. Space Odyssey reference on the Great Metal Standoff. He's going eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It's getting close. Maybe get a coin and
Heart
flip
Shaped
it.
Box.
Heart
Take
Shaped
it
Box.
before I leave it. Big 50 asterisks is on that.
Let's make it 100. How about that?
That sounds good. I like that.
100 asterisks? All right, with 100 asterisks next to it, Imran has taken Heart Shaped Box. Next up, probably Imran, correct me if I'm wrong, the lead single of the self-titled Heaven Beside You?
Definitely one of them, yeah.
Heaven Beside You goes up against Rape Me, the bluntest Nirvana song off this. Maybe their entire discography, but easily this album.
Well, this one was kind of an easier pick for me, even though like my pick goes to Heaven Beside You for this one. Not to discredit Rape Me. That's a very powerful song. I think like the only thing that really catches me about that song is the message behind it, which I don't want to get into, but because it's really dark. But the message behind that song is very powerful. But I think if I'm looking at it in terms of the song itself, it's like when I first heard that song, I literally thought I was listening to Smells Like Teen Spirit. It's like it's kind of another like the same chords. That's kind of what it sounded like to me. Whereas Heaven Beside You is more dynamic. This song somehow perfectly mends country, the Beatles, and that really dark, heavy Alice in Chains sound. Just the way each section flows into each different section. Just even though like the verse, the chorus, and the bridge part, they're so very distinctly different parts, yet they somehow perfectly flow through each other. And it amazes me every time I listen to that. It just kind of cements Jerry Cantrell's like genius on this album for me, as well as like this song was about I think Jerry Cantrell's recent ex of that time, was his girlfriend of 7 years.
Yes.
And yeah, that was kind of his kind of pouring out about that. And it's such a powerful song, especially the unplugged version, which I got to mention. That's also an amazing rendition of it. But
you get a very lifeless vibe in that acoustic riff throughout Heaven Beside You.
Yeah, definitely.
And
it's
the release. You've just given a passionate plea about that, but yeah, just the build, the release into that. Where does the lead lines, are they in the chorus, or was that more of like an interlude bridge kind of thing?
So like the lead guitar stuff.
Yeah, once it all builds up and
That kind of, I think that's a bridge, honestly, because I think the chorus to me is the part where it's like the coldest winter. Yeah, that's kind of the chorus to me.
Yeah.
And then goes into the bridge, which is like the super dark, heavy, dissonant. Like there's some amazing guitar work on that. But yeah, Heaven Beside You, kind of an easier one for me here.
Okay. Of
course, not to discredit Nirvana, but yeah.
Was it as easy for you, Cypress?
No, this is definitely a hard one for me, honestly. The reason being is because I am very into statement pieces, and I think that people look too closely to the lyrics sometimes. They don't really look into what the artist's intent is, and they don't listen to the artist when they try to defend their works. So I think Heaven Beside You, I'll start on this one first. Basically, I think that this song is really dynamic. I love the way they use that rhythm electric guitar to go over the lead acoustic. I think it goes really well. I like the lyrics. It's actually, I think in the post-chorus, it says, I'm just see-through faded, super jaded, and out of my mind. It actually sounds like something I've written before. Like I've rhymed, I've had those feelings of feeling faded, turning into feeling jaded, you know? So like, it's actually cool.
So well.
Yeah, it's cool to see that, how that comes out, like, and people like, you know, like, and like to see someone's already written something like that is just great. Now, when it comes to the song Rape Me, I think it is definitely a 100% statement piece. And I'm not sure if you know the history behind this song, but essentially this song is it's a statement piece on not only how the media portrayed Kurt Cobain's song Polly, but how the general populace didn't even understand the meaning behind Polly, right? So you have Polly, which is an extremely anti-rape song in the perspective of the rapist, whereas Rape Me is in the perspective of, I believe, Kurt Cobain. And I think that this is his take on the media trying to attack him as being maybe misogynistic, when it's not true. Like he spent his whole life defending minorities, women, and people with disadvantages. You know, like he wasn't a popular kid at school. In the interesting note is in the cover of Incesticide. Now you're probably gonna have to bleep this out. There's a quote that says, "If you're against, if you're against, or not against."
Is this the quote that is like, if you're against gays or like
Yes,
you're
gays,
racist,
people of colors, or women.
Don't buy our album.
Yeah, and
that's in Utero.
I read it was an Incesticide. Is it in Utero as well?
I heard it was in Utero. That's when he put it in there, because that was like after he also released In Bloom, which is like about the same kind of topic.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know it's in. I believe it's in Incesticide as well. But essentially, this he told everyone to stay away from them and to leave them alone. Yeah. And I just find that this song is like, it's dynamic as well, you know, like it has slow parts and then it builds up. And even though the verses are, you know, like two of the verses are the same, like of the three verses, and the chorus is kind of like, it's the same, you know, it's really repetitive. It's trying to get a point across. And like the bridge is really important too. It's like my favorite inside source. It's like, people are like, oh, I know what Kurt Cobain really means in his lyrics. And it's like, people don't. They're looking at it from an outside lens. And now I think Heaven Beside You is a lot better composition-wise. But lyrically, I find that the Alice in Chains song is it's almost as repetitive as Nirvana's song. And in this instance, I'm going to go with the statement piece with Rape Me.
Imran, I'm with you. Heaven Beside You. You almost swayed me, Cypress, but Heaven Beside You. In my opinion, that's the superior song. Compositionally, I guess. But yes, of course, statement piece, very well thought out by Kurt Cobain on that end. So just a quick score update. That would mean Cypress in Utero leads 3-1. For Imran and myself, it's 2-2. I didn't actually expect a draw. Damn. Imran, is this the draw I've been predicting all month long?
To clarify, I'm going to draw with you guys because I voted for Sledge Factory.
We'll see.
Here we go.
And with that, we now move on to Head Creeps versus Frances Farmer will have her revenge on Seattle. That is an insanely long name. Let's learn more about it. But before that, Imran, I have a little story for you. I was listening to Head Creeps. As I was taking my notes, I wrote down intro sounds like a spiritual successor to Angry Chair. And then I go and I'm scrolling through web browsers and then I read, oh, it's the only song that Lane Staley is solely credited to.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Yeah, this is the only song that he wrote the riff and the words and everything. It's
this one took quite a while for me to get an opinion of, by the way. This one's I'm quite conflicted whether I like it or not.
I got to reference a quote I got from an old friend of mine a while ago. That once I was talking about this album with her, and she said that this album feels like you're walking like it feels like you're walking through a swamp, which I think is quite possibly the most accurate representation of this album, because it's slow, it's long, it's sludgy, it's dark, and I think this album is one of the this song, sorry, is one of the album representatives of that quote, because it's very doomy. It's got that distorted, like dirty vocal on it. There's like a lot of feedback with the vocals as well, which I kind of like. I kind of dig that. But yeah, it's just it's real dirty. Like I think this is one of those songs that like really epitomizes that grunge term of like real like messy sounding, and as well as it's kind of got a bluesy chorus with some cleaner vocals and stuff. But yeah, it's a very tense song. It's real long. I feel like it goes for a bit longer than it should. I feel like
I feel that
could have ended. Yeah, there's a part in it where they kind of do this harmony, almost angelic sounding, like one of those, and I feel like it could have ended there, but it keeps going, and you know, not like it's a good song, but I feel like the only thing that really discredits it is that it goes on for too long. And yeah, my pick for this one is going to have to go to Francis Farmer for that, because that's definitely one of the most underrated songs on In Utero. That's a banger and a half. It's got that little quiet chuggy part at the start, which like really unexpectedly like explodes into the song. You've got another one of those like kind of call and response, like verse lyrics and riff kind of thing in the verse. The chorus is catchy as hell, and I like the fact that in the bridge they didn't go for like the traditional solo. They just went for a chord progression, which is kind of different. You don't really expect it. Plus David's drums. David Grohl. I don't know why I called him David there.
No, he was raised as a David, it seems.
Yeah, but yeah, Dave Grohl, the drummer of Nirvana, I think particularly stands out in this song because he knows when to play quiet and loud in this song, and he's got the real like quiet parts in the verse, and if you listen out for like in the chorus and stuff, he goes nuts and he really plays loud. And yeah, my vote's gonna have to go to Francis for this one. That's a banger of a song.
Cypress, do you share the same sentiment?
Yeah, I do. In terms of Nirvana songs, this is one of my favorites. This is actually my favorite off the album.
Why is that?
Background of the story is Frances Farmer was an actress who had schizophrenia, and Kurt Cobain was really interested with people with mental illness. And he even named his daughter Frances Bean Cobain. So there's something about this song that like it can be viewed as like a statement piece towards an actor with schizophrenia or towards his daughter, you know, like in the next generation of grunge, you know. I think that in terms of choruses, this is one of the most simple yet effective choruses he's written. It's literally one line. It's "I miss the comfort of being sad," and I think that anyone's gone through depression can actually, anyone's gone through depression can relate to that, because when you're going through depression, a lot of the times you feel okay or fine, but when you're trying to be happy and bring up appearances, it almost feels easier to be sad or be okay with being sad, you know. So like, I think what his message there is pretty powerful and really concise. So yeah, I'm going to give it to this song.
So Francis Farmer goes to is the point that Cypress is going to give it, or politically incorrect by Sadgasm, as I like to call it. Yes, Imran, I did actually go there. I made but no, Francis Farmer probably is one of the more underrated tracks. I know Cypress just said it's his favorite, but for me, it's just more of an underrated track off In Utero, and it sounds like we're going to be all in agreement here, because I'm definitely going to take that one as well.
Yeah, no one really talks about this song. I feel like it's definitely underrated.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm still conflicted as to whether I like Head Creeps or not. Just for a moral victory of Head Creeps, what have you got anything that could help convince me that I do, Imran?
Well, I mean, I kind of like the fact that it's I feel like it's very Black Sabbath inspired in the fact that it's real doomy, and like it's got that Alice in Chains like chuggy kind of vibe to it, as well as the fact that it like in terms of like the guitar licks and stuff, I like the fact that it's kind of bluesy. It's got like the classic like Zeppelin-y Black Sabbath kind of vibe, as well as keeping with like, you know, Alice in Chains' sound as well. Yeah, like this song in particular has always been like one that like I kind of skip halfway through. Like I particularly like the first half of it, but it drags. It's one of those songs that It just, yeah, like I said before, the analogy of the swamp, it really drags.
Interesting. The swamp comparison. My comparison was that the riffage is just like the opening of Hell's Gate. So that's still a very similar
Mm.
feel. But
Yeah,
as
you
we
could,
move
yeah.
on now, this is on my first listen of the self-titled is when things started blurring into one for me a little bit, and I started getting this is getting a little bit monotonous. Luckily, in future listens, now when I'm at like listen 5 or something like that, it has gotten a lot better. But still, both of these tracks, I think this is going to be a hot take for both of you actually. Again versus
Uh-oh.
Dumb, don't really rate either of them.
Oh,
Really?
That's a hot take, I know. The only thing I like
That
about
is-
Dumb is that cello. Dun, 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 dun. I could hum
That's a
that
hot
all
take.
day, but other than that,
that is a very hot take.
That is very hot.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, that's a
spicy
boiling
even.
hot take.
Yeah, I got to say, with Again, I get what you mean by the monotonous like chugging stuff, because the only problem with Again that I have on the album is where it's placed, because it's placed after like, so you've got the first 3 tracks, sorry, which are chuggy riffs.
Yep.
Then you've got Heaven Beside You, which is, you know, a bit of a draw away from that, and then you've got Head Creeps, which is like pretty much purely chugging, and then you go into Again, which legitimately is one of my favorite songs on this album. And I think it was also one of the lead singles. But it's, you know, it's like, it's a bit different, but it's another chuggy riff. And the problem with it is where it's placed on the album, because it's legitimately a standout track if it wasn't kind of muddled with all the other chuggy riffs, you know? So it like, especially the fact that like with Again as well, they kind of go into that like poppy direction as well with in the bridge, they got that killer riff, and then they go into the toot toot, yeah, toot toot, like that
vocal stuff is actually quite leaves curiosity.
Yeah, it's one of the things that really makes this song stand out against like all the other chuggy songs on this album. And it's great. The melody in the verse is cool. It's simple. I like the chorus, how it switches to like that and then you got like in the background is like the vocals over the weird angelic kind of vocals and stuff. And yeah, it's simple, but it's a great song. It's definitely, I think, a standout track off of this album. And then you got Dumb, which like straight into the song. This is like a 2.5-minute song, short, sweet, to the point. The cello, I think, takes a very prominent role in the song, but it's like aside from the cello, like it's a great song. It's got a nice meaning behind it. It's kind of in my head, it's kind of like a Something in the Way Part 2, where it's really simple, but it works. You know, it's one of those songs that kind of sticks with you. I haven't made a decision yet because both of these songs are very memorable in my head. So Cypress, please feel free to go. I'm gonna think about this.
Yeah. So what I find from the first verse especially is it's similar to the track off Nevermind. You're gonna have to remind me of the name. Where it's like, well, it's similar to Aero Zeppelin, which was off of Incesticide for one. But the feel is kind of targeted towards the audience. And so it's like, I'm not like them, but I can pretend. The day is done, but I'm having fun. I think I'm done, or maybe just happy. It's kind of about like people that are just like, they don't really step out of their comfort zone. You know, they're kind of like content with being happy. And what's the song? Okay, so it's like, he's the one who likes all the pretty songs. In Bloom,
yeah.
Exactly. So it's got that In Bloom vibes started out. And so and then like the chorus is just like talking about being happy and like different varieties of that. And the second verse really stands out to me. My heart is broke, but I have some glue. Let me inhale, admit it with you. We'll float around, hang on clouds, then we'll come down. I think it's very simple, but the imagery there is just really beautiful. Like that yin yang he's got, you know, like kind of like, I don't know. It is on one point like kind of codependent, I guess, but it is very cute. And I've always liked this song, like for its metaphor and poetry. Again, I don't know. It is. I understand that it has those poppy feels and like it's, I don't know, it's kind of competitive and it seems like it's longer than it should be. I'm not trying to jab at the artist or anything, but it's just, I don't know, it seems like they were trying to make a really long album and they had a lot of fillers put in every so often. which is fun like to listen to like live, absolutely, and stuff like that. But I don't know. I think that Dumb is very compacted and it's concise in this case, so I'm gonna give it to Dumb.
Imran, coming up to a final decision, or do I have to explain my hot take a little bit?
Please explain your hot take.
I have to, don't I?
Yes.
Dumb,
Yep.
Yes.
melancholy. Like I said, the thing I like, cello. Dun, na, 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 na. I could hum. I said that at the very beginning. I could hum to that all day. Let's put it this way. I reckon 14-year-old Jason would love Dumb. It'd be his favorite Nirvana song. 20-year-old Jason, not so much. I think it doesn't relate as much to me anymore. Just at this present time. Who the hell knows what 21-year-old Jason or what 30-year-old Jason will think, but that's kind of my reasoning for why Dumb's not that much of a highly rated song in my mind.
What about Again?
Again, just that's another one that needs convincing.
It's one of those tracks that's like, I don't know what to compare it to, but it's one of those like short, choppy, like not choppy, but how do I explain it? It's a simple, like, off this album. It's simple, it's choppy. It's like I feel like the only downfall it has is where it is, because I feel like this is a standout track that, like, against everything else in this, kind of it's that hit song. Like, this was legitimately released as a single.
Yeah.
It's a good hit song, but it just, in terms of album placement, and in terms of going up against a song like Dumb, is like, it's inconvenient.
Yeah. Do you know what? Just because of the curiosity that I have for the vocal melodies is probably why Again's going to etch it for me. I think that if that helps you make your decision, or if that just makes it worse for you, Cypress and I don't know. But I know Again will etch it just through curiosity's sake.
Oh, man. Okay, I'm going to just for nostalgia's sake, I'm going to go with Dumb on this one.
Dumb it is.
Just take big asterisks on that.
Is it another case where we got to move on before you change your mind?
Quick, do it now.
All right, we'll do it.
With Dumb, it's kind of versatile in that you can actually like listen to it in many different ways and perform it in different ways. Like, you can do it cockily or you can do it confidently. There's actually some like emo Midwestern post-punk bands that do good covers of Dumb. I can't think of the names right now, but like if you have a look at some of the covers out there from big name bands, it's like a pretty like decently covered song as well.
Send it to us. Maybe we can give it some airplay on Mosh Pit. But before we move on, Imran, even though I know your mind might be about to change at any moment, I'll just give Dumb some credit here because I have slagged on it a little bit. The unplugged version is miles better.
Yeah. That's a cold take. That's an appropriate take.
There we go. Redeeming myself in the end. Okay. Shame in You versus Very Ape.
Ooh, I like this song.
This one is a really interesting one because these two are my least favorite tracks on both albums.
Interesting. Okay. Explain why.
Well, Shame in You, like, I feel like it's got the vibe of like a country kind of song. It's got that Alice in Chains, like if they took Jar of Flies but like worse in a sense. Like it's got that vibe of like this should have been on Jar of Flies, but they left it off for a reason, and for some reason they put it on this album. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like it kind of gives me the vibe of Confusion off of Facelift more than Rooster. I do like with this song that the lead guitar is kind of bluesy, almost like classic rock kind of vibes from it. Yeah, there's some cool like off rhythms from the drums and stuff, but yeah, it's just I feel like it's a bit draining. Like it kind of adds to the vibe of that, like the whole aesthetic of the whole album feeling like a swamp.
I was going to ask you about that actually, Imran. This is kind of at the point where I started thinking from a visual perspective, especially when you listen to Shame in You, it almost just you might need to help me out with getting a grasp on production here, but it just sounds like it's kind of like underground in like some sort of concrete bunker. And it's not really quite soaring like a song like Rooster or Down in a Hole in Dirt, or even like something like Sea of Sorrow and Facelift. It just seems really bogged down. Like, for example, the solo on Shame in You is quite good, but it's subdued.
I don't know if I'm using this term correctly, but it's like compressed. Like
Yeah.
real. I don't think I'm using that correctly, but like it's real muddy and very like yeah, like you said, it feels like if these songs were on another album, they'd be standout, soaring, like they'd be crazy. But
Something like a
yeah,
Rain
on
When I
this,
Die kind of thing.
yeah, this I feel like Shaming You could kind of compare to that in that sense, like of the ballady, yeah. But yeah, for some reason, like on this album, because of the visuals, the visual you get from like a down, dirty, sludgy kind of vibe, this song kind of drains you. It's that's a Nirvana reference.
Drain you, no
Um,
pun intended.
yeah, very unintended, but yeah, it's real draining. And then Very Ape is a great song, but I hate that it only goes for like a minute and a half. That's
Yeah,
like the one thing I hate about this song. It's so visceral, it's crunchy, it's got a really cool like lead guitar part. It's got super catchy lyrics. It's like the lyrics almost feel like sassy with the like that lyric of if you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to ask someone else first. I love
yes,
that line.
that's
Yeah.
extremely
But
quoted too.
yeah, but this is a song that I feel like should not have been a filler track, because this is very much a filler track, and I hate that. Like the one thing that deters me from this track is that it only goes for a minute and a half, and I feel like this should have been a full song. So yeah, again, I don't know what I'm picking. Cypress, go.
Yeah,
Take it
so
away.
like with this track, it is very short. I'll give it that. It's actually one of my dad's favorite songs, if that means anything. But it's a very fast-paced song. It's much more punky than grunge, I find. I think the chorus is really nice. Like it's very simple. Out of the ground, into the sky, out of the sky, into the dirt. It's like it's kind of anticlimactic, you know. It's like back to where you started. Yeah, but I don't really have much to say with Shame and You, correct? Yeah. It seems like that song has a bit more going for it in terms of like lyrics. Very Ape is just kind of like this, like, I don't know, like word vomit, if you will, that like
And there's
is
still
like
more
trying
word
to
vomits to
just get
come.
out raw emotion. Yeah,
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 I
that's
was gonna
right.
say, yeah.
Okay, so Imran, we'll start with you. Final answer.
I mean, look, I'm gonna go with Very Ape just because
Hmm.
I like it as a track, but I want to say I hate the fact that it's a filler track.
You're giving it a
So
point for its potential.
yes,
Yeah.
All right. Do you know what? I think just for my end, for my sake, Shaming You could probably grow on me eventually. The problems I have with that whole bogged down production style and how everything's very subdued and it's very muddy, it's kind of a gripe I have with the entire Alice in Chains self-titled. And it's kind of the reason why, once again, on first listen, it was a struggle to get through. It's a more grower than it is more of an impact, and you love it immediately. But
yeah. I mean
just because there's more substance there, Shaming You is my point.
I was gonna say that muddier bogged down production really pays off in some songs though. Like I'll get to that later, but
Yeah, I
it
think
does
I've
pay off.
got. I can give it. Yeah, I'm quite complimentary to it as we go along. Anyway, Cypress.
Yeah. Um, I think that Very Ape is not necessarily one of their strongest songs, but it is. I do like how quick it is, and that it is kind of like a traditional punk song. It comes in, it comes out, and I personally just like it as like a you know a heavy grunge sound. I really like that sound, so I'll go with this one.
Very Ape.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, we'll do a quick score check then. After I think we're 7 tracks in, making progress, gentlemen. For myself, Alice in Chains is now taking the lead 4-3 for Imran. In Utero leads 5-2. Cypress, it's borderline
Really?
it's borderline a washout at this point. It's 6-1.
Oh,
So much for impartiality, I
yeah.
see. It's kind of like Salome
Yes.
with Frog Stomp.
I love it.
Oh man, yeah.
Anyway, all right, track 8 now. God Am for the self-titled versus Milk It for In Utero.
Oh man, I was looking at this like just before, and I think this is quite possibly one of the, if not the hardest pick I have to make of this album
This is your hardest one, is
contest,
it?
because, well, Yeah, because well, Milk It is like I don't like this may be a hot take or not, but I think this is the heaviest Nirvana track ever. Like it's crazy. It's like I get it starts off with the like the weird dissonant off note intro, like the weird drum rhythms, and then suddenly it kicks into that crazy riff, and I swear that is the heaviest they've ever gone. It's
Mhm.
insane. You've got the and this is also like a classic Nirvana track in the sense of you've got the really quiet verses and the really loud chorus. And like in the verses, you've got the weird mumbly like it's real like it freaks me out every time I listen to it because it's he's mumbling. I can never understand what he's saying. And you've got the in the background just like guitar notes that are just all wrong.
Oh,
And then
great.
that riff hits, and you got the big scream, like the I'm not even going to attempt it.
It
I
grabs
don't
your
even know what he
attention
says in
really
those.
quickly. It's one of those attention grabbing
Yeah, it's
songs.
just yeah, it's crazy. I freaking love this song. And then you've got God Am on the other hand, which opens with the perfect. Sure, God's all powerful, but does he have lips? Whoa! And then comes in with that really cool drum rhythm,
Dun, dun, dun,
which
dun, dun.
imme-
That kind of like, right?
yeah, immediately hooks you. And you've got like as well as like in the intro, they've got the little like guitar feedback like slowly coming in, which I absolutely love that. But yeah, this song is just I think one of the heaviest songs on the album. It's got such a cool, interesting guitar riff, really big chorus, crazy. Like this is one of the tracks that's like amazing guitar, like stand out for Jerry Cantrell in terms of guitar work. It's heavy, it's amazing. It's just it's such a great song. I think it's one of those songs that it's simple but it speaks for itself. I got to make a decision, but I can't yet. Go Cypress, please.
Cool. So I really like Milk It. The first opening line is I am my own parasite. I don't need a host to live, which is kind of cool. But this song it's kind of like the idea of like people milking like I don't know like their record contracts and shit, and like more importantly how the executives milk their clients. So like the chorus is like doll steak test meat, which is like I think he's trying to like flip the words there, right? So like it's like a doll steak test meat. Like essentially like I find that it's like kind of be like a if you look at the first words, right? So like steak and meat, the second words make sense, and then doll and test, they kind of make sense if you flip them around like a test doll or like a test dummy, right? So like he's kind of like objectifying himself in like the worst possible ways. And then like one of the most hard hitting lines he's ever said is "Look on the bright side, suicide." You know, so I think that is like kind of like very impactful in that song. You know, especially like considering this is in the later years of his life. It's like he's obviously fed up with the music industry, and yeah, I think he does use like the imagery of the album cover in this song as well, which is kind of symbolic because it's like his
angel
signature
left wing,
style.
right wing, broken wing.
Yeah, that's it.
Mm.
And then like one of my favorite lines is "Her milk is my shit, my milk is her shit, her milk." Yeah, whatever. There's actually like a demo version or an unreleased version of "Milk It" that's much more laid back that I really like off of the box set. But yeah, I like the finished product. And then when it comes to Goddamn, like it's very deep. The verses are very powerful. I like how it's been written. I like the lines where it says like this god of mine relaxes, world dies, I still pay taxes.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Apparently, this is based off a story called "I Have No Mouth and I Want to Scream." It's like a short story about a computer named Am.
Huh.
So yeah, and he kind of like takes over the world and keeps these humans alive purely for torture. It's messed up, but yeah.
Well, like it's like if they could if they had like robots back in World War One for Metallica's One. It's like a dystopian Metallica's One, you would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
That's a good comparison, yeah.
Okay, so decision time, gentlemen. What are we thinking?
Oh boy. Look, I'm only gonna pick God Am because of the opening line. Sure, God's all powerful, but does he have lips? Whoa.
Got emphasis on the woe.
Yeah,
Whoa.
the echoes in the
Whoa.
song as well. It's crazy. But like that's also an asterisk song because Milk It is not my favorite of in Utero, but like it's a second probably.
Second favorite. Okay.
Second favorite. Yeah.
I'm somewhat surprised by that take, Imran. Not a hot take, because obviously I'm not the expert here, but that's interesting. Where am I going to land? Because I saw Milk It as more, didn't like the verse, but that chorus is so attention grabbing that it almost deserves the point by default. Because goddamn, it's very, very constructed. Like, you know, dun, 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 dun. Everything is said to the riff. Borderline robotic. Who knows? Maybe that was intentional. Probably was. But before I make my decision, Cypress, what are you doing?
Yeah. I admire both these songs a lot, but I'm probably just gonna stick with Milk It for now.
All right. Do you know what? I'll join you. I'm a bit sorry, Imran. I'm slightly indifferent to Goddamn, so I'll just take. I'm going to take Milk It.
Fair enough.
I think Goddamn is a great statement piece.
Statement pieces, say.
Yeah, well, they're both obviously statement pieces. I mean, Milk It with the music industry and Goddamn with, I guess, like, I don't know, society and, like, how people view God and, like, saviorism.
Good point. It's 2 statement pieces. Decent battle. According to Imran, the hardest one thus far.
Not yet. We'll see.
We'll get to that then. I'm very intrigued to hear what the closer battles are coming up in the final stretch, Imran, because you're hyping that up. I'm getting excited. But in the meantime, track 9, my personal opinion, no contest. So Close versus Penny Royalty. But before I give my answer, let's hear yours, Imran.
Oh, wait, no. I want to hear your no contest now because this is a very tough one for me.
Penny Royalty.
Huh.
Is that actually a hot take in your mind?
That's a hot take.
Damn.
So Close.
Did not expect
So
that.
Close. Is that the first hot take on this podcast?
Dumb.
Like official?
The dumb comment.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give you that. This is definitely a hot take. So Close is, well, I mean, it's the first song on the Alice in Chains album that's fast-paced. It's got that punky feel to it. The bass is fat. Like, it's insane. That guitar riff as well is, like, possibly one of my top 5 Jerry Cantrell guitar riffs.
Wow.
And going from that super fast, like, punky feel to suddenly slowing down in the verse, and then you've got the why did you do it, like that melody, and just when that all kicks in is just so good. It's amazing. Plus there's a little key change in the chorus. It works so well. You got it, like, the chorus is also nice as well. You've got like there's like a really strong feel in the first half of it, and you got a little falsetto, like woo-hoo, like that little part. But yeah, like, I think this is one of those songs that, like, kind of competes with Nirvana in the sense of, like, short and sweet punky songs. And it's kind of ironic going up against a song like Penny Royalty, which is not as punky as the other songs on this album.
Yeah.
And it's a tough choice because Penny Royalty is like another one of those 10 out of 10 Nirvana songs, which is like, it's such a beautiful opening, explodes into that chorus. It's just, there's amazing bass in it. It kind of reminds me of like, the whole song may as well be a folk song, but it's got the heavy elements to it, which I guess classifies it as a grunge punk song. But yeah, like, if this, like, the unplugged version of this song, for example, that could very well pass as just a folk song.
Better than the In Utero version. I'll grant it that.
Yeah, I'll give you that as well. That's not a hot take. I'll give you that. It's just, Penny Royalty is just, it's one of those beautiful, simple Nirvana songs that just hits you. And
this is one of the soaring songs, actually. Once that chorus hits, the gravelly vocal delivery, take it or leave it, but still, you can't fault the passion in that one.
100%. This is a banger of a song. I can't decide yet. Cypress, please go.
Yeah. So Penny Royalty is actually, like, a really kind of beautiful song. It's like, I think that when it comes to Pin Royalty, it's got a really nice build up for one. So it starts off like very slowly. He just says, I'm on my time with everyone. I have very bad posture." And it's actually kind of sad.
He sounds
in
entrapped.
hindsight. Yeah.
Mm.
So like to be on your own time with everyone is like, it means you have to be going through a lot of stuff to like not be like relating back to someone, and to say that and then to go on and say I have very bad posture. It's from an outside lens, it kind of seems like it's kind of like, oh, what, you just have bad posture, like that's why you can't relate with people. But like Kurt Cobain actually suffered like medically wise with a bad back for a long time. He had like this, I'm not sure what it was that was infecting his back. Yeah, but like so he had a lot of pain. I guess it was from bronchitis.
Fact check us, facebook.com/metal standoff.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Anyway, so but basically like he had back problems, and one of the reasons why he was so heavily using drugs was to self-medicate, and like, you know, he started off with like small stuff, but as we all know, he became addicted to heroin, and it's a terrible drug to use. But essentially like he was doing it you know, because he had this like chronic pain, and it was just, you know, enabled by his wife, sadly. But that's just semantics. You can see that in some of his other songs, like A Heart-Shaped Box and stuff like that, you know. But I find that this song is like kind of like a ballad almost of like his pain.
And I see what you mean.
Like,
I called it an electric ballad in my notes.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's just like kind of the subtle like note hints he leaves in this album. Apparently, it was going to be the third release single, but then he killed himself.
Yeah,
and
I read about that.
So it never got released. But like you can find like what is it, like bootlegs of it and stuff.
I mean, in its own right, it's still a one of like a big fan favorite in terms of like Nirvana fans. This is like definitely a song that everyone loves, that like stands out in terms of Nirvana fans. So like it didn't really need to be a single because everyone kind of drew to it.
Well, then couldn't you make the counter argument that if audiences are going to draw to that one, may as well release it as a single so it has a better chance of appealing to a broader audience?
Which brings it back to the previous track of Milk It. Go on.
Does it?
Does it? Wait, what?
Explain that, because then. Milk It's about his record label milking his work. So they did the album in literally 6 days, and when it came down to doing the vocals for the whole album, Kurt Cobain did it in under 6 hours.
Oh yeah. I did read that. Yeah.
So like they wanted to get this album done because the record label was pushing them, for one, and for two, they knew that if they gave them a full album, they would be more inclined to say you can't put this in here than if they gave them like one song at a time, you know?
Right. Okay. Which in contrast, sorry.
It's similar to So Close with Alice in Chains. Like a lot of these songs are like based on the music industry, and they're calling things out, like especially money and greed. So Close is a very simplistic song, but like it's you listen to it a couple times, it's pretty impactful. Yeah.
It's one of those songs that's, I think, like, it's another one of those songs that it's got a case of the placement on the album, because I feel like it's got a very odd place where I feel like if it was maybe placed earlier, it could have had more of an impact and maybe more people would have recognized it as a great song, because it legitimately, this was one of the songs that immediately resonated with me on this album, because it was short, it was to the point, it was like it's got the elements of punk as well as that slow, sludgy feel that Alice in Chains has, and I freaking love that. Like that time change from like the super, like the snare heavy like intro suddenly to the slower drum feel. It's like I'm a sucker for that, and that's all I have to say.
Okay, fair. I really liked the line, "Man, I nearly snapped my twig." it's kind of interesting because like there's some way to look at that, losing like your grasp on things, I guess. Then again, I nearly snapped a few of you. Yeah, exactly. Like letting your anger out and stuff like that. I think that's kind of cool. Like it stands out with like the rest of the imagery and a lot of these things. It's more symbolic.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a play on words, I guess.
Right. All right. Well, since this is a tough one for Imran, Cypress, we'll get your final answer. Where's your point line between these two?
I reckon Penny Royalty is pretty like safe to lock in for me.
Safe bet? Yep.
Yeah, it's a
I'm
safe
guessing
bet
not,
in this instance.
I'm guessing not as much as a
grew up
hands
on this
down
song,
like I
man.
was earlier.
Yeah, like if there's ever a song to like play at a tea party to like get the like momentum going, it's this one.
Right. All right. So
I couldn't imagine Penny Royalty being played at a tea party, actually, to be honest.
Yeah.
Well, you haven't been to as many goth tea parties as you should.
Yeah, maybe not. Damn.
I think we're going down a road that we might regret going down. So, Imran, what are we saying?
You know what? I'm gonna. All right. Asterisk times 100. So close.
Times 100. That's. I think that's at the same level as a couple of other songs, but okay, so close, no worries. But hey,
Yeah.
I can appreciate that point. Yeah, it is a refreshing change of pace, but at the same time, I still want Lane to belt something out. Come on, belt something out, Lane. It didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, this was a dark time for him.
It was. Yeah,
he still had his voice, but he didn't utilize it as much as he could have.
Okay. Well, let's do a quick score check because it's Imran. You and I we're quite close. For myself, it is. I believe. At least for myself, it's 5-4, and on Cypress's end, it's 8-1 in favor of In Utero. By the way, for myself, In Utero's in the lead too, and I'll just quickly do a mathematics check right now. Alice in Chains, 1, 2, 3, 4 for Imran. 4 plays. I think it's 5-4 in Utero as well on Imran's turn. If I got that wrong, we'll go into the post-production period right now and correct that. Okay, if nothing's happened, we'll just move on. I got it right. Yippee! Hooray for mathematics. I did general in VCE. I mean, I'm not that great at maths. My apologies.
Bro.
To be fair, I did advanced maths in year 10 and I failed. So
did I.
don't
I
think
did
I can...
okay in the end, but too little, too late.
I remember one time.
That's how it be.
Finished a math sack, and with enough time to walk outside, get some water, and do 20 push-ups.
There we go.
That's pretty badass, dude.
I didn't pass it.
Hey, but at least you did the push-ups.
Just as I was about to give you the rap and say, and the laid-back country singer is the math whiz out of the three of us, and then you give us that. Come on, man, you're letting us down here. All right. Now, we're at the final 3. This is getting to a point where I'm starting to hit my bottom 3 in terms of favorite In Utero songs.
That's a hot take.
Nothing song.
That's a hot take.
Is it? Okay. Nothing song versus radio friendly unit shifter.
Yeah. Okay, look, I'm gonna start off here. Radio friendly unit shifter is my favorite song off of In Utero.
Is it really?
That immediately gets the point. That may be a hot take from me, but that immediately gets the point for me because that's the song that is a sheer like noise punk track that does not compare to any of the rest of the album. Like you've got like Milk It, for example. That's a track that's similar to this in the sense that like it's noise and crazy, but I think radio friendly unit shifter is the peak of that kind of sound. Like right from the get-go, you've got like the noise feedback. The drums come in a bit later, like 30 seconds in or something. And it's just crazy. Like, I don't know how Dave Grohl keeps up with that pace the whole time, but it's insane. It's got such a killer riff. That riff is one of like probably the best, like definitely a highlight in terms of Nirvana. Maybe not the best in Nirvana's career, but definitely a highlight. Just that particular riff. The verses is interesting because it's like it feels like a spoken word delivery to me, but it's melodic, which like kind of like I've been thinking about it, which is kind of singing, like in terms of like if you're going to dumb it down, it's pretty much melodic spoken word. But I feel like if we're talking specifics here, he's pretty much reciting a poem. Like I think from memory when I read about this song, it's pretty much a throwaway poem that he came up with that he decided to put to this crazy song, right? So it's pretty much a melodic spoken word song. The chorus is super heavy, it's catchy, it's simple. It's got a bridge that pretty much is the only like musical part of the song, because the rest of it is just melodic spoken word, crazy chorus and riff, and just feedback and super fast drums. And I freaking love it. It's amazing. It hooks me every time. I love it. And look, not to discredit Nothing Song, this song, not like it's got a bad case of like it could have been so much better, like because the chords to it and the ideas musically are really interesting because it's kind of jazzy, like in my head. It's like if it feels like it's kind of jazzy, it switches up in the chorus and stuff. Like it's got that classic Alice in Chains feel where it's like the chorus and the verse, two completely different feels. The rhythm changes a lot, like, you know, but the lyrics kind of spoil it for me because
so
I
repetitive.
remember Lane Staley. Yeah, Lane Staley. I remember reading about this. He said that when he wrote the lyrics to this album, he kind of wrote whatever was just in his mind rather than like editing or whatever. It was just kind of what came to his head first, and just he went with it. So I feel like this was a song where he was literally sitting down and he just like looked up at a clock and is like, it's 7:38. Should I be working so late? You know, like this song could have. This is another song that could have had potential. That could have been amazing because the chords and the guitar parts and the flow of it is really interesting, but just the words to it like kind of ruin it for me. It makes it like a filler song, and just the fact that it also kind of drags is like makes me
You
sad
hear him,
as
right?
well because yeah, it's like this. Whenever I listen to the song, it makes me sad because this could have been an amazing song, yet it was just executed poorly. And yeah, that's why my point's obviously going to Nirvana for this one.
Cypress, do you share any similar sentiments to that, or have you got anything to add?
Okay, so to clarify, you said you thought it felt kind of jazzy in some
Yeah, there was
aspects,
some.
like with like the drums and stuff like that, like the accents on the
Yeah,
drums.
the drums, some of the
The
chords
use
that
of the symbols, they use a lot of the symbol in this song.
they do.
Yeah, there's some really nice soft spots in the song like that. I find that it's kind of like if you took like, I don't know, what would be something that would eat metal, and then you poured that down a tuba, and then you played the tuba, and into a jazz song. You know, it's like it's real rustic. Like especially at the beginning, like when it comes in with the distortion. I believe it's distortion. Just like how like the you know how you hear the feedback, feedback and all that stuff come back at you.
Yeah,
It is like, I think it's a really nice, like, you know, like, so there's this quote, right? And this is where this quote really starts coming into play is that he said that when asked about what he thought the initial response to this album was that people thought it was you know, not up to par. And he said that in specifics, the grown-ups don't like it. He thought that, he says that he wrote this album for himself, essentially. So like, I believe that
who
this
is this, by the
album,
way?
Kurt Cobain, sorry.
Oh, Quebec, yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All good.
Anyway, so yeah, he says that like the initial response is people don't like it. They think it's too raunchy, too rude, too crude. But he said he was writing music that he wanted to listen to when he was at home, you know? So like he chose like everything strategically, like Steve Albini. He has a lot of like tracks in there that are talking about the music industry and his self life. This one doesn't really have like as much of that in it. Like I think it stands out on the album for sure. But I really like Nothing song in this case. Like I don't know, it's like the Nothing song sticks to your mouth like peanut butter on the brain. I mean, like this is the Dog album, you know, and like it's like it is anticlimactic, yes. But like if you listen to it, like I think I'm starting to get that both these albums are statement pieces, you know.
Yeah, I feel like Nothing song suffers in the fact that it's catchy as hell as well in the chorus, because like that chorus sometimes like gets into my head as well, and I'm just like, damn, that chorus is really accurate because it really sticks in your head for a bit. But it's as well as the fact, like, yeah. Sorry, go on.
Oh well, I'm just curious about this. Like, it opens up the fact, like, okay, so these records came out like within a year of each other essentially, and it's like, is this like foreshadowing the death of grunge? You know, like, because like after this, it kind of alternative music starts to take over, like the Smashing Pumpkins and stuff like that, you know. So like,
yeah,
so like, do these albums foreshadow like how like grunge music kind of teeters off and it just becomes another inspiration for new genres, you know?
I think if anything, these albums foreshadowed the deaths of their frontmen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I have a theory that I'll tell you later on, by the way, on that.
Okay.
Excellent.
But yeah, yeah, like if like this, like the Alice in Chains one specifically, I feel like is like not a perfect ending, but you can hear the reason why the self-titled is my personal favorite out of the Alice in Chains discography is because of the feeling you get of the slow, swampy, sludgy, like dark lyrics. You can really tell like Lane Staley especially is kind of coming towards an end, even though he didn't pass away until like
2002.
I think what after this that was 7 years later after this album,
but it was the beginning of the end.
But you guys were saying that he lost his voice.
No, you know what the thing is, that if you listen to a lot of the live stuff from this era, like not just the unplugged, but there's a few like bootleg live recordings where they were a full band. You can hear he hasn't lost his voice. It's just more of the fact that he was an addict at the time, and there was nothing. He was at the point of like no hope, and it was real sad to hear, because he got to the point where he physically could not perform because of the fact that he was so far down in the dumps, in the swamp, if you will.
Put it metaphorically, I guess.
Yeah, metaphorically, of course, yeah.
So Imran, it was hands down radio friendly unit shifter. Cypress, what are you taking?
Yeah, I'm taking Nothing song, man.
Nothing song. Interesting.
Yeah. That's all I take.
I think it's much more well written. You know, he's making a statement. So like he's got a basic rhyme scheme, he's got a basic flow, but he repeats lines that are interesting. Went outside to give it all a break. Went outside to give it all a break. Back inside, Sam, throw away your cake. I mean, that's less. It's kind of less interesting, but
so you're very appreciative of the wit and the lyrics, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know Imran, you said it was a hot take to say radio friendly is a bit of a bottom 3 in my opinion, but let's be honest, I hate the feedback. I understand that, in fairness, the feedback you could probably you could probably convey that it's, you know, very frenetically scanning through, and like one of those old-timey radios that go through all the static and all the trying to pick up a signal. But the drums and the bass save it, and that gives it the point, just because Nothing song is so repetitive that it bored me. Sorry.
Yeah, all right.
But I'm taking radio friendly just because the rhythm section saved it. It saved it.
No, the rhythm section is definitely a big highlight in radio friendly unit shifter.
Yeah.
That's like underrated as hell.
Yeah. But that feedback, just Kurt Cobain in general, and the guitars, that's not my personal preference when it comes to Nirvana, I guess.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Yeah, all right.
We are down to the final two. Let's get into it. For the self-titled, we have Frogs, the longest song on the album, might I add, versus Tourette's, the shortest song off In Utero. Cypress, we'll start with you, but I think I'm going to give you another hot take. Tourette's, this is literally my notes on Tourette's. I'll just read them word for word. Good instrumentation, flailing like a maniac, which is a compliment, by the way. But I've also written in just 3 simple letters, shut up, Kurt.
Nice. All right. So
man.
I guess we'll start this the only way I know how to. Moderate rock. Okay, so like I think that sample
like
is
that.
Certainly not moderate.
I think that sample is like really, really funny. Like he's like making fun of like the music industry and people and like I don't know. The song kind of goes in circles. Like it doesn't really go anywhere. But like I really like the bar chords in it. Like it's a nice progression. You know, it's like a nice timing too. Like it's really like fast. You know, so it's not like it's like a fast song that goes for like 3 minutes. It's like it goes for like a minute, but you feel like you've gone through a lot. Frogs though, like there's just so much there. Like wow, like I really like this song. I liked it on the Unplugged. I like it on this album. Yeah, it's one of those things where like I'm really drawn to like creativity in the lyrics, and this one's really nice. Talks about like flowers watch through wide eyes bloom. Yeah, it's cool. Like basically replacing like your eyes with flowers blooming, you know, like or like awake your eyes lighting up, you know, with like a flower blooming. Really nice.
Mm. The one thing I thought about with Frogs, it's probably the one with the most atmosphere and where that whole bogged down production kind of works. I mean, I'm not sure if this is a hot take, Imran, but with the exception, so close would be the exception of this, but out of the last 4 songs we've talked about, Frogs is probably kind of one of those songs where it's like the soundtrack to Purgatory. It's that hollow and that dark and that atmospheric.
Well, look, I'm like, all I have to say about Tourette's is that it's got a cool riff, it's got a cool idea, but like that's all I have to say about Tourette's. But Frogs, this may be a hot take, but Frogs is literally the greatest recorded song in the entirety of like music. It is so good. I don't think anything off of In Utero or anything from Nirvana's discography, honestly, could compare to Frogs. It is
Wow.
Whoa.
so good, right from the beginning, right to the end. You've got the spooky intro, which is a vibe and a half, I must say. You got like it's just like, I don't even know where to start with this song. Yeah, like you've got the spooky intro. This I think is a really good example of that analogy of walking through a swamp is that really like it's a really bassy feel on the guitar. You got the real spooky like lead guitar stuff, and then that drum groove, sorry, that comes in is like I think really fits the vibe. Which the vibe honestly kind of gives you like it's like a really weird country vibe, but country in the sense of like really dark.
Yeah,
And
it
'cause
gets
you've got
really folky towards the end, but in a really dark way.
Exactly, yeah. You've got that acoustic guitar in the background the whole time. The lyrics flow in it so freaking well, and there's a little guitar riff in the back that supports it. That bridge is amazing, which like kind of goes to like the major instead of the minor like dark feel. The chorus is honestly my favorite part because once that chorus kicks in, it kind of builds into that like big like dun 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 dun. Bam,
Oh, is that the
bam.
chorus?
Like that's what what did you think the chorus was?
I couldn't find one, so when you said chorus, I was quite surprised.
Huh. All right, fair enough.
Not as
Yeah,
inclined, obviously. But yeah.
yeah, but that chorus is really interesting. As far as I know, like please fact check me on this, but as far as I know, that it's a major chord, and that the lyrics over it are playing over a minor scale, so it's really like dissonant, but it works at the same time, and it's really weird. But I love it. It's like as much as I love to talk about like the actual main part of the song, the second half of the song, honestly, I think is the best part of the song is when like
Now, when you
Jerry
said,
Cantrell. Oh, sorry, go on.
no, so when you said second half of the song, you're talking about the point where kind of Lane's starting to ramble a little bit in that spoken word. And
Yeah,
it gets a bit more
he's like,
country, kind of like the man's
yeah,
coming around.
Yeah.
The man's coming around.
What the whole
Coming around to get my voice
yeah.
dollars.
well, like
I'm getting
you've got the
started,
same
boy.
riff going on. You've got like some sick acoustic stuff going on in the background, like that. That is some amazing stuff that still gives me chills to this day. You've got some lead like harmonic like guitar stuff. You got Lane going 7 8 it's that part is so good. And like even like with that like little spoken word part, there's a little part where like I'm not going to repeat this exact sentence, but you can really tell like he's gritting his teeth when he says it, because you can tell he's feeling everything that he's saying. And like honestly, the only thing I can say about Frogs is that it's perfect. It's like it is the equivalent of a chef like looking at his pizza that he's just created and he's going, "Mwah, bellissimo, molto bene." It's so good. And yeah, that Frogs I'd give 10 points to.
As per usual, we can give one.
Yeah, that'll do it.
That'll do. He's had these moments before, Cypress, where
Come
like,
on, man.
we could give it a 10.
Gryffindor.
Yeah.
I could go on more about this song, but
Mm.
don't even get me started.
Well, Cypress, do you share any sentiments to Imran with that particular song?
Well, like, I don't. I think it's a good song, and I think it's definitely the better of the two. So it's got my point. But that's strong. Say it beats everything out of Nirvana, because like I don't know about that. Like I don't want to get into semantics. I'd like after we're done with this, I would like to like briefly like find out what your favorite Nirvana songs are, or at like some point.
Okay.
We can definitely do that towards the end, but we still have one final song to go. And after Imran gushing about Frogs, we've probably worked out his favorite song of Alice in Chains, but I'd like to hear what he thinks of this final song. The final battle of Grunge Month, the final battle of Alice in Chains self-titled versus Nirvana's In Utero. An entire month's work of grunge comes to an end right now, and I'm very conflicted. I thought it was going to be very easy to pick one or the other for this final battle, but it's become very, very difficult. And considering my score, it's extremely, extremely tight. Over Now versus All Apologies. Cypress, we'll start with you.
All right, so All Apologies has a similar vibe to Serve the Servants, Penny Roll Tea, and it starts off really slow and really nice.
How's it similar to Serve the Servants? Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, wait,
How is that?
So Serve the Servants, like it's not necessarily just bar chords in the beginning. It's like it's more of this like it leads into it, you know. So like what I mean is like it stands out from like a lot of the rest of Nirvana songs, which are generally speaking bar chords with solos in between and stuff like that, you know. So like all Apologies has like a scale and like it like leads into it, and it's, you know, it's like it's kind of like I was saying earlier with like Penny Royalty, it's a ballad.
I mean,
I just think
All
it's
Apologies has got the ballad vibe, but I don't think I'd put this song up against Scentless Apprentice or even Penny Royalty, to be honest. This song stands as its own like final, like this song to me is the final Kurt Cobain song that like just stands as the epitome of like Kurt Cobain. Maybe he didn't want it to be. I don't know, but this song to me, like the final days of Kurt Cobain, the final months or whatever, this is what Kurt Cobain was about. Like that song. Fun fact, I covered this song in high school as well, which was a fun time. I could not get those vocals right, but like as like that has an amazing guitar riff at the start that continues through the whole song. Just even the chorus just flows perfectly. It's one of those songs that it just speaks for itself as well, like some of the other In Utero songs, and it's really hard to describe other than you just got to listen to it and just really appreciate it for what it was and what Kurt Cobain was about during that time. And It's an amazing song, but it's so hard putting up against a song like Over Now, because
Oh,
Over Now
Uh,
to me
well,
is like it's the same quality as All Apologies, because it's soft kind of country vibes. It's like you've got that like ending like vibe, like this track is called Over Now. Like how much more do you want it to be like an ending track,
yeah,
you know?
roll
exactly.
credits.
Well,
Yeah, it's like it's a final track, you know. And I think Alice in Chains did it perfectly when they started it out as a like kind of like a quote unquote pop song. You know, it's catchy. It's got a great chorus. This is literally Lane's song, not Lane, sorry, Jerry's song, sorry, because Lane only does the harmonies in the song. And I think this song really only breaks and hooks you when it gets into that slower part where it's got that slow melodic like solo and like chord progression where the bass kind of becomes more prominent. And it's like these both of these songs kind of become like perfect ending songs to each of these albums respectively, that I like it. I don't know. I Do you guys have anything to input?
yeah, so I think that's really beautiful what you said there. Everything you said about Penny Royalty, I was actually like resonating more towards with over now, right? So like it's clear that both Nirvana and Alice in Chains were like upset with their labels, right? But if we're honest, Alice in Chains was still a small market band back then. So like I think that their lead singer had like suspicions that he was going to get kicked off the label or whatever, you know. And I think that this album is like a protest of that, you know. And like when it's like this song like Over Now, like I just kind of feel like maybe this is like the band's like it could like for me I see it as the band saying like we're probably going to have to split up or go separate ways. And with Nirvana, like I don't think they had that risk, you know. Like I don't think they had that in the back of their mind. Like I think they knew that like if they were going to split up, it would be because they wanted to, not because of the record label forcing them to do other things, you know. Like I still think that like viewing All Apologies as like their last song is great and beautiful. They actually have a couple of songs that came out after this song, which like I think have similar impacts. Do Re Mi is notable. That one is more like just like acoustic demo. I think they might have recorded one live track. Um, but the most well-known one, their last officially recorded song is "You Know You're Right,"
You know, you're right.
and basically, yeah, that is one of my favorite all-time Nirvana songs.
Wow.
It starts off with he does harmonics on his electric guitar to make it sound like wind chimes. So you know how this album, right, has all these like dark like feedback loops and stuff like that. Well, this in this case, the feedback is actually like a wind chime, and it has a great bass line, and like that song I think is the one that Kurt wanted to go out with. But yeah, it's a tough choice, and I'm not going to decide yet.
Oh, okay. And I think Imran's going to be
Oh
in a
boy,
similar boat, isn't he? You're going to be struggling too.
I I haven't decided yet.
Okay. Well, I'll just sing the praises of both songs. All Apologies is a complete package. It is pretty much, I'm not going to say the perfect ending, but it's pretty darn close to an album like In Utero. And considering I'm not a fan of Radio Friendly Unit Shifter, not a fan of Tourette's, not the biggest fan of Very Ape either, to get to All Apologies by the end, it's one of those uplifting. Oh my god, it's kind of it's like that. Holy crap! What is this song? This is amazing. Whereas with Over Now, I kind of get the same feeling. I'm not a fan of the trundling along of the self-titled. Yeah, there are a lot of songs that drone on, but then there's just this kind of breath of fresh air, this sigh of relief in Over Now, where it's like it's now got a
Yeah,
spring in its step. It's now got the ending credits are rolling. We're talking about. I'm not sure. We might need to do some lyrical analysis, but I think they're talking about we're paying off our debts somehow. It's like the weight of the world has just been
mm.
lifted off, and now the head's held high, and we've got a spring in our step again, and it's over now. It's
Yeah. I feel like both of these songs, no, maybe not even lyrically, but just like thematically, have the same like kind of vibe of like this is the end and that's it for this band. You know, like maybe not with Alice in Chains, you know, because they went on to get a new singer and make more music. But
at that period in
with
time,
Nirvana,
though,
for example,
but hang on,
yeah,
at that
like
period
that
in
period of
time,
time,
they would have been. It would have been the beginning of the end. They were teetering with it all coming to an end.
yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing about grunge is that in that time period, it was a huge risk, you know, and for some of it worked really well, but there's so many bands out there, we'll never know.
Well, hell, Jacob and Salome, we were talking about it last week, Australia's offering with Silverchair, you know? But by that point, it had been kind of well and truly been done.
Yeah, at the point the Silverchair kind of grew big.
They did grow out of it, in
Like
fairness.
that was 1994, their first album, wasn't it?
I think it was 95,
And then,
same year as the self-titled.
oh, no way. Okay. Yeah, so that 1995 would have been pretty much the end of grunge because Silverchair came out with their album.
Frog Stomp, Alice in Chains, obviously with this self-titled.
Alice in Chains with their the Dog Tripod album, as it's often been referred to.
And then in the years to come is Creed, Nickelback, and the Foos. Obviously, out of those three bands, one of them is exponentially better, but you know.
Let's not get into that.
Let's not get into that.
Yeah.
We'll save that for another podcast then, hey.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, okay. I think for this one, I'm gonna pick Over Now.
Oh, okay.
It hurts. It really hurts. There's a big asterisk on that. But I'm gonna pick Over Now because I like as I mentioned before, I covered All Apologies in high school. That is an amazing song to me. But Over Now, I think, is just the perfect ending song to an album that has lasted that long, that has just given off the vibe that it did, and the quality of that song as well. The way it ends, the fact that it goes from the kind of normal popish to slow, sludgy Alice in Chains vibe. It's a great song. I can't discredit Over Now. It's hard. All Apologies is definitely an up there song for Nirvana, but Over Now I think is my pick for this one.
Oh, do you want to go first, Si, or shall I?
Man, come on! As much as I love both these songs, I think All Apologies has more depth to it, and I really appreciate that one. And I have a big history with it, so.
Okay. All Apologies it is. That just leaves me, and I Over Now. If it's not my favorite, it's definitely top 3. All Apologies. If it's not my favorite, it's definitely top 3. They're almost seriously, they're that good, and I'm that conflicted.
They're both amazing songs. That's the thing. It's so tough to pick between two of them.
In my personal opinion, if my score for an Utero was a clean sweep at this point, I would have just given the point to Over Now just to give that track its credit. But mine, it's very, very close, and I'm not sure which way to go. Do I still give it credit, or do I just trust my instincts with All Apologies? Because my heart does say All Apologies over Now. But it's a case of I want to give credit to Over Now. What do you say? I'll leave it to you, Imran.
Well, Over Now at least has the it may be long, but it's got the quality of being a Alice in Chains signature song of fast to slow, kind of ballady. It's even got that country vibe that Jerry Cantrell kind of gets inspiration from. And in those slow parts, you can really hear it, especially in his solo. It's got that particular lick, that guitar lick that kind of resonates.
I love that bridge
more
guitar
prominently.
lick. I love the acoustic in the solo. That's my favorite part of the song.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And I don't want to discredit Nirvana, but I feel like Alice in Chains are better at making a song they can they may have not done it well in the past, but they can make a song long and make it really good as a long song. With Over Now, that's 7 minutes, isn't it?
Hell, you spent a lot of time gushing over Frogs. That's 8 minutes. Yeah,
exactly. Frogs is a perfect example of that, of making half a song and then the rest of the song, it's pure nonsense to the regular listener, but it's amazing. It's deep. It's got the best guitar work that Jerry's ever done.
Yeah.
And even in Over Now, like some of the most amazing like guitar work that Jerry Cantrell has ever done is on this song. Like he's got some amazing licks on this song. Yeah, like there's no other way to explain it other like this is Jerry's album. This is his moment to shine as a guitarist, and he really freaking does it.
All right. Well,
So
hold that thought then, Cypress. For all apologies, give me one final closing argument why I should probably pick that one instead.
I mean, man, it really comes down to aesthetic between these two. Like,
Yeah.
All Apologies comes in and then leaves with a whisper, you know? And I think they kind of both do it in their own sense.
All right, Imran, you've been giving 100 asterisks against the song. I'm gonna top that and put 500 asterisks next to my pick. I think just because I'm gonna listen to this song a bit more frequently than the other, I will take All Apologies, and that is a gut wrenching thing to say. That is truly,
I understand.
Truly gut wrenching.
It's just not fair.
Yeah, it's not fair.
No, I understand. It's a hot take, but I don't think I can pass up a song like Over Now that's as amazing as it is over like all of like consider this. I covered All Apologies willingly as a volunteer in high school multiple times. And I'm picking All Apologies over that song. Like I love All Apologies.
Yeah.
But Over Now just tops it just that little bit. It's a perfect song.
I think it's a song
perfect
that'll
way to
definitely
end an
grow
album.
on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you listen to more Alice in Chains, definitely it'll grow on you.
All right. Well, that means we've now just completed. We've finished Alice in Chains, the self-titled, and Nirvana's in Utero. Congratulations, guys. That was a very fun conversation to take part in. So now we've got all our tally points. So now let's turn them into grand points. And we'll start with myself just to get it over and done with. It was close. It was very close. But me picking All Apologies with all those, like I said, 500 asterisks makes it a 7-5 victory for Utero. So that's the first point. Good on that. But that is gut-wrenching. If I gave it to Over Now, it would have been a draw and it would have been a half grand one each, and that would have set in motion for perhaps a draw. Cypress, let's just get this one right out of the way. It's an in utero win as well, 9-3. So therefore that's a 2. That's already 2. That's 2 out of a possible 3. So in utero wins, it's just a matter of Imran. It's just a matter of what you did. I want you to have a guess, actually.
You know what? I don't even know. I didn't keep track of the scores, so
Okay. I can reveal to you, even though in utero wins 2 out of 3, but Imran, it's a 6-6 draw for you, so it's a half point each. You drew.
That hurts. That kind of hurts. Not gonna lie.
So hey, on a technicality, in utero win, but this was surprisingly a close one. And let's wrap this up with a theory that I had at the very beginning, because as we've been talking about, this was the final album for each of these ones in their hot period. But there's one specific theory that when I overthink all the time. But this is something that I thought of in my head. Frogs is the last song that's sung by Lane Staley as lead vocalist. Correct, Imran?
Yeah. It is. Yeah, as lead vocalist. Yeah.
His final lines as lead vocalist is him rambling on about an expiration date.
Yeah. Frogs.
Let me go on.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah.
Over Now is the final song where they kind of are expecting an impending breakup, and you kind of hear that, like I said, spring in your step, head held high, like stepping away, sung by Jerry Cantrell. Obviously, in 2002, the world lost Lane Staley, and Alice in Chains probably, spent a very long time in hiatus. Well, they went into hiatus in the late 90s, then they lost Lane. They reunited in 2006 with William Duvall, and their first song of Black Gives Way to Blue, All Secrets Known, the first lyric is "Hope, a new beginning." Think about that as like a story arc kind of thing. That's kind of cool.
I do like that. As much as I don't mind William Duvall's era of Alice in Chains. Like I I really appreciate the album The Devil Put Dinosaurs Here. I never really got into the other albums, but I do appreciate his era. But yeah, like as a story arc, it's really cool.
Whether that's intentional
I
or
really
not,
appreciate it.
that's just me reading into
Yeah.
it. But I think that's quite cool, even if it's
Yeah,
unintentional.
yeah. No, I really appreciate that as well.
Yeah, and also, Brian, just this is another hot take. Black Gives Way is probably my favorite Alice in Chains, even after doing all
the
these
hottest
three.
take.
Yeah, I still love Black. I love Black Gives Way.
I can't believe you prefer that out of all the Lane Staley era albums. Honestly,
Don't worry. Maybe we'll.
Hot
How about
take.
the three of us can meet up again? We'll see if our opinions have changed then. But Cypress, any
Cool.
final thoughts on In Utero to wrap us up?
Yeah. I think that In Utero was a very like thought out album in that a lot of it's has to be like it's meant to make a statement and to represent like how Kurt felt in the moment in his relationships, both financially and emotionally. And like it's kind of incredible that they recorded an album so quickly with hardly any mixing involved. You know, it's really raw, and like I think it's probably his most authentic album. Bleach is very authentic, but they're like trying to find their way. Nevermind is like they're trying to mimic songs that their influencers did. Like, you know, Smells Like Teen Spirit was a Pixies wannabe song basically, and then like In Utero is basically this like coming of age story where like Kurt's like, I don't give a fuck anymore. Oh, bleep that out.
Will do. But yeah, and hey, that's it. That's Grunge Month. Imran, we've just sat through 5 different podcasts doing as much grunge. It's been quite fun having you on the ride. You were on 3 out of those 5. It's been quite the ride.
Thank you. I've been honored to be on 3 of the 5 of those. But yeah, it's been insane. I'm glad I've been on all of the Alice in Chains albums because I realized I've completed all of their main studio albums aside from the EP. But yeah, it's been insane.
Yeah, and Cypress, you got to join us for the main event. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No worries. If you like, plug any kind of musical project you have going. Where can people find you? What do you plug? Whatever you would like to plug. The floor is yours.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Cypress Oliphant. The easiest way to find me would be on SoundCloud. My latest single is called Fire. You can find that on SoundCloud. Just search up Cypress Fire. Yeah, go give it some likes, and I'm going to be releasing some more stuff soon. Thanks.
Dirt versus 10 versus Nevermind. Super Unknown versus Audio Slave. Facelift versus Bad Motorfinger. Frog Stomp versus Versus. And in your main event, In Utero defeats the self-titled Alice in Chains, thus bringing to an end of a grunge podcast for every week in August. Throughout this month, everyone who has come on this show has brought out the most passionate side of them. Be sure to check out any other Grunge Month podcast you missed and you will see what I mean. Special thank yous also go out to Cypress for joining Imran and myself for this battle, a nice change of pace talking to people outside our little metal world. As said, his first ever released single, Fire, is available now on SoundCloud. Just search Cypress Fire to find it. Or, to be more direct, soundcloud.com/Cypress-6. If you like what you hear and you want to hear more, he's on Instagram at Cypress Oliphant. Give him a follow and you'll be the first to know about whenever he releases something new in the future. To finish off this show, my final thoughts are this. These 2 albums are easily the last of their kind and of their time. Where many believe that grunge died with the tragic end of Kurt Cobain, I say that this Alice in Chains was the album that was in charge of the funeral for that era. This has been the Great Metal Standoff. Let us know who you would have picked out of the 2. Stay up to date with us at facebook.com/Metal Standoff Pod. And be sure to check out Sin's rock and roll, punk, rock and heavy metal show Mosh Pit, Thursday nights, 8 to 10 p.m. on 90.7 FM, DAB+, digital radio, or from your preferred device at sin.org.au. That's syn.org.au. That's all for now. Till next time, metal up your ass!